Caroline, and I'm Impact Manager at SeeClickFix. And for those of y'all that don't know, SeeClickFix connects neighborhoods with their local governments. And the way it does that is by routing reported neighborhood concerns, things like potholes, light outages, to the right city official with the right information to get the job done. So at SeeClickFix, we are firm, hard believers that better communication builds stronger communities. And what I hope to talk about today is one big, fat slice of that, which is the value of opening citizen services in 311 data. And so by the end of today, I hope to leave you with 3 reasons why opening up citizen services in 311 data is valuable, with stories attached to each. There you go. So the first reason why opening up citizen service data is important is because, simply put, it allows governments to solve more better. You know, there are 2 really hard things that governments have to do with 311. One is figure out and decide collectively what are their priorities around 311. And then 2, once they figure that out, collectively implement some kind of solution to address the issues that citizens care about the most. And that's really hard to do. And the crazy thing is, once you open up your citizen services, it becomes really clear, really fast, what your citizens care about the most, because they'll yell about it. And then to that end, it becomes really clear, really quickly, what governments should do and what issues that they should be focusing on regarding what their citizens care about the most. So a good example of this is in Detroit, Michigan. So Detroit right now was having this huge, massive issue with water meters being stolen from abandoned buildings. And this was an issue partially because water meters are about $500 a pop, but also because once stolen, water would flood the room, the floor, the basement, the surrounding yard, and even into the street. So by the time the issue got to the attention of the city, tons of water was wasted, which is a tricky situation considering it's a city that's already strapped for resources. So a crazy thing started happening. Citizens started reporting these issues on SeeClickFix. They started reporting water meter being stolen, or water gushing from basement window, or water flooding yard. And you know, citizens had a few reasons for doing this. 1, they didn't want their yard to be damaged. But 2, they also didn't want the city's resources to be wasted. They understood the situation. And so what happened then is that because all those issues were poured into SeeClickFix's public platform, it became really clear really fast to Detroit across departments that this was something that they had to pour time, energy, and resources into prioritizing and into fixing and addressing that problem. And so the crazy thing is, it was that transparency of that 311 data that allowed that collaboration across departments to happen, to come up with better backed, clear solutions across the entire city. So the second reason why opening up citizen services data is important is because it can help government solve more better. And I think we've heard a ton of stories about this in the past couple of days, about the importance of sharing data across departments internally. And 311 data is no different. And that's what's happening in Vermont right now. In Burlington, you probably know that they're having a huge heroin epidemic right now, and they have been for the past few years. Arrests, hospitalizations, need for treatment has skyrocketed in the past few years. And in particular, one symptom of that issue has been the dangerous littering of used syringes all throughout the city. And so the city of Burlington needed some way to do 2 things. 1, locate and collect all these used syringes, and then 2, garner insights on, okay, where are the hot spots? Where are these syringes being dropped, and how does that inform our decisions around programming, events, new centers, etc. So Burlington collaborated with their health department and with the Howard Center, which is this working group that deals with substance abuse issues, to add a service request to SeeClickFix called Found Syringes. And this did 2 important things. 1, it allowed citizens on the ground to take pictures of the syringes they found and report it. to the city of Burlington. Then the city of Burlington could forward those requests to the health department, who could pick up those used syringes in the best way possible. So citizens didn't have to put themselves in harm's way to pick those up, and the syringes were picked up in the safest way possible. The second thing it did was it allowed the Howard Center and the health department to have a lot of insight into, okay, where are the neighborhoods that have the most need right now, based on, like, correlated with the amount of syringes that were being dropped. For example, the Howard Center had this cool project where they wanted to put drop-off boxes in various locations so that individuals who use the syringes could drop them off instead of dropping them on the ground safely. And so they use SeeClickFix data to say, okay, where are the places where these are being dropped the most, so we can put them there. Kind of logical, but wouldn't have happened if they didn't have this information flow across departments. The last and final reason, I guess it's not the final reason, there are a lot more reasons, but one other reason why opening up citizen service data is powerful is that citizens can help governments solve more better. And again, we've heard a lot of stories, a lot of really interesting and exciting stories about this kind of thing happening. I think what makes this reason distinct from the first two reasons is that the first two reasons were about how can we do more with what we already have. You know, how can we utilize what resources we have the most? And this one is much more about how can we expand the pie, right? How do governments actually have more resources than they thought they did by tapping into the citizen base? So two very quick examples about this happening in Raleigh, North Carolina. So Raleigh's crazy. Raleigh has these crazy greenway systems, like 3,800 acres, 150-mile like bike trails, bike paths, walking trails. Two things that are tricky though. One is that they're really hard to connect, and two, super hard to maintain, especially with limited resources. So citizens created this app called Our Greenway, which in its simplest form is just a guide to all these greenway systems, directions, really cool pictures. But I think more than that, it's a sign of true collaboration between the City of Raleigh's open data portal and citizen efforts. So they built this app using SeeClickFix API so that if you're a citizen using the app to manage your way around the greenway, and you see a fallen tree, you see some issue, you can take a picture of it, and it gets routed directly into the City of Raleigh's workflow without them leaving the app, which is pretty awesome. A perfect example of meeting citizens exactly where they are. The second small example I'll give in Raleigh, North Carolina is kind of similar to the Greenway system. They have this huge asset, which is like 100 bus shelters, really awesome, super difficult to maintain, especially under limited resources. So what they did is they created this program called Adopt a Bus Shelter, which is sort of similar to Boston's Adopt a Fire Hydrant, where they took pictures of all the bus shelters, reported them as issues on SeeClickFix, and then created a separate application that pulled that bus shelter data using SeeClickFix API to create a map. And what citizens can do now is they can claim a bus shelter. So you're an individual, you live right outside of a bus shelter, you have the capability on a monthly basis to take care of it, you can claim responsibility for it, have your plaque on the bus shelter. And this does two really cool things, right? One, that individual citizen feels more engaged in their particular street, their neighborhood, because they have some responsibility there. But two, also, the city doesn't have to maintain it themselves. And that's a pretty crazy, cool thing. So I'll leave you by kind of summarizing. By opening up your citizen services through One Data, you do three things. One, it allows governments to solve more better. Two, it allows governments to help governments solve more better. And three, it allows citizens to help governments solve more better. And I think it's that trifecta that really affords for better communication, which in turn builds stronger community. Thank you.